Alright guys, so now that we have our UI done here, I want to persist the data to local storage so that when we add a task it actually stays instead of just reloading and having it go away. So local storage is part of JavaScript. We don't have to use any third-party library or anything like that, so we can just go ahead and use it. So let's go down to the add task function. And after we actually add it to the DOM with this chunk of code right here, we're going to go ahead and call another function called, let's just say, store in local storage, and we'll call this store task in local storage. Okay, and we're going to want to, let's see, we're going to want to add into here the task, which comes from the value of, let's see, where is it? Right here, this task input dot value. So we can pass that in like that. So whatever is typed in here will get passed in here. So let's go right under the add task function and create this one. So we'll say function store task in local storage. That'll take in the task, and then what we want to do is define or initialize a variable called tasks, and then we want to check local storage to see if there's any tasks in there. So we do that by saying if local storage dot get item tasks, if that is equal to null, that means there's nothing in there. So that tasks variable, I'm just going to set that to an empty array. Else, then we want to set tasks equal to whatever's in local storage. Now remember, local storage can only store strings, so we're going to have to parse it as JSON when it comes out. So let's say json.parse, and then in here we'll get local storage dot get item tasks, like that. All right, and then what we want to do is push on to that variable, so tasks.push, and then pass in the task that was passed in here as a parameter. So we're adding it on to this array right here. And then the last thing we want to do is set it back to local storage, so set item. Now remember, it has to be stored as a string, so we're going to store tasks, and then we want to store the variable task, but we want to wrap it in a function called json.stringify so that we can actually store it. All right, so let's save. And now we'll go ahead and we'll say walk the dog, and we'll add it. So it gets added here. Now if I reload, it's going to go away. But if we look down here in the console or in the Chrome tools and we go to application, and we click on local storage over here, you can see tasks, and we have that walk the dog value. All right, so it is being persisted to local storage. Now the next thing we want to do is show it inside the UL here. So for that, we're going to create another function. Now, in addition to the function, we need an event to load for the function to be called. So in the load event listeners, I'm going to create a DOM load event. So for this, we're going to say document, and we're going to call an add event listener right on the document, and we're going to listen for DOM content loaded, okay, which is an event where that gets called right after the DOM is loaded, and then we're going to call get tasks. All right, so now we'll go right down here. Say get tasks from ls function. We'll say function get tasks, and let's see, we're going to, again, I'm just going to go down here and copy this and paste that in here. So we're going to initialize task, check to see if there's anything there. If there isn't, set it to an empty array. If there is, set it to whatever is there. and then we want to loop through these tasks that are there. Okay, we're going to do that with a for each loop. So we'll say function, and in here we'll just call this task for each one. All right, and then inside the for each, we basically want to just create the DOM element. So just like we did with add task, I'm going to copy from here down to here. Okay, so we're going to copy all that. We're going to put that inside the for each. So that's going to happen for each task. So let's go ahead and save that. Now you'll see that the text isn't showing because the text node is saying task input value. There is no task input value in this case. In this case, it's coming from this. It's coming from tasks. So that's what we want to put in here. Save, and there we go. So now if I reload, you'll see it's still there. If I go up here and say pick up kids from school, and we add that task and reload, it stays there because it's being persisted to local storage. And then when the page loads, when the DOM loads, it's coming from local storage. All right, so now we want to do the delete. If I delete, it goes away in the UI, but if I reload, it's still there because we didn't actually delete it from local storage. So let's go down to remove tasks, or remove task, and we want to go right here after we remove it from the DOM and say remove from ls. So we'll say remove task from local storage. All right, now this is kind of weird because we don't have like an ID or anything we can pass in here. What we'll have to pass in is the actual element, which is going to be the li, which is this right here. So if we go ahead and pass that in, and then we go and we create a function, let's say remove So remove from local storage, and it's going to be passed in a task item. So if I were to console.log task item and save, and then go ahead and click that, okay, and you'll see that it'll log the list item. So that's what we're getting here inside this function. So what I want to do is first check local storage, put it into a variable, just like we did here. So we're going to go ahead and put that in. Check to see if it's null. If it is, then it's an empty array. If not, then we're going to set this variable. Then we're going to loop through it. So for each okay, so we're going to loop through the tasks, and then what we're going to do is do an if statement. We're going to check to see if the task item text content, okay, text content will be the actual text of the task. We want to see if that matches, if that equals the current task in the iteration. If it does, we know that's the one we want to delete. So we're going to say tasks.splice, and we can actually get the index by putting it as a second parameter of the for each, or the for each callback rather. And then we can put in here the index, and we want to delete 1 from the index. All right, then all we have to do is go under the for each and set local storage again. Okay, we should have to wrap this in JSON.stringify and pass in tasks. All right, so let's save that. And now if I delete pick up kids from school and now reload, it's still gone. Okay, it's gone from local storage. So the last thing we want to do is the clear tasks. Right now, if I clear, it goes away, but if I reload, it's back. We need to actually clear it from local storage. So I'm going to go to the bottom of that clear tasks function. and let's call clear or clear tasks from local storage. And this is going to be very, very simple. We just need to call local storage.clear, and that clears out everything. So now if I go ahead and I click clear task, goes away, reload, and it stays gone. All right, so we now have an application where we can create tasks. It gets persisted to local storage, so we can leave and come back and it'll still be there, and we can delete them, we can clear them, and we can filter them. All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed this project. It gives you some insight on how to work with the DOM, how to work with local storage, and that's it. I will see you in the next video.